Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women and Men, Why Capable People Suffer from the Impostor Syndrome and How to Thrive in Spite of It, by Valerie Young, Ed.D. Narrated by Rachel Perry. Introduction. Women don't give themselves enough credit for what they can do. You see it in the 21-year-old senior just coming out of school. You see it in the PhD candidate just coming out of graduate school. And you see it in the professional who's been working for 10 or 15 or 20 years. Director of Minority Student Affairs at a prestigious women's college. Countless books promise to reveal the secrets of success. This is not one of them. You're already successful. You just don't own it. And that's what this book is about. Helping people just like you who have already achieved some measure of academic or professional success to feel successful. This book exposes the kinds of hidden fears and insecurities well known to millions of accomplished women and men, and explores the myriad of reasons why they secretly feel undeserving of their hard-won success. By the way, you don't have to feel especially successful to relate to the contradiction of the public face of confidence and competence on the one hand, and the private voices of self-doubt on the other. If you run a small business, are early in your career, or are a high school student, you probably don't think of yourself as successful, at least not in the way society defines it. If you think the cure to your imposter syndrome is to achieve great success, think again. A whopping 80% of CEOs and 81% of managing directors in the United Kingdom said they sometimes feel out of their depth and that they're struggling with their role. Instead of success quelling your imposter fears, you just feel like you're fooling more people at a higher level. You could win the Nobel Prize in Physics or an Academy Award and still wonder, what if they find out I'm not as smart as they think I am? Can I really pull this off? Or, who do I think I am? It's the reason I resisted titling this book The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women. My editor, publisher, and agent loved it, so I relented. But it never resonated with me. I pictured someone who ran a company or a country, or who was otherwise at the top of their career. Turns out I wasn't alone. Highly accomplished women have told of someone seeing this book on their desk and asking, "So, what are your secret thoughts?" They said it took a moment to realize the person was talking about them. By all measures, they are, and for that matter, I am successful. I have an advanced degree. I made it into corporate management. I launched 2 successful businesses. Still, if I saw this book title, my first thought would be, I wonder what those successful women think. We'll get into our sometimes complicated relationship with success in later chapters. For now, the good news is this book really will tell you how to, in the words of the famous Apple ad, think different. Not only about things like competence, luck, faking it, failure, and, yes, success, but about yourself as well. Will you become more successful as a result? Undoubtedly. Once you have the tools to transform your thinking, you'll find yourself reaching new heights. In fact, this book will help you positively thrive. Frankly, this is the book I wish I'd had in 1982. I was 4 years into a graduate program in education and procrastinating terribly on writing my dissertation. One day, while I was sitting in class, another student began reading aloud from an article by a couple of psychologists from Georgia State University, Dr. Pauline Rose Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes, titled the imposter phenomenon in high-achieving women. Among the 150 women they worked with in various counseling settings, Clance and Imes uncovered a pervasive pattern of dismissing accomplishments and believing that their success would disappear once others discovered the awful secret that they were, in fact, imposters. My head was nodding like a bobblehead doll's. Oh my God, I thought. She's talking about me. When I looked around the room, everyone else, including the professor, was nodding too. I couldn't believe my eyes. I knew these women. I'd been in class with them. I'd taught alongside them. I'd read their work. To me, they were intelligent, articulate, and supremely competent individuals. To learn that even they felt like they were fooling others rocked my world. A group of us began to meet as a kind of informal imposter support group, where we did what women commonly do under stress. We bared our souls. We talked about how intimidated we felt when we discussed our research with our respective faculty advisors, about how, more often than not, we left these sessions feeling confused and inept, how we'd clearly put one over on the admissions office, and how anyone who looked too closely would realize we weren't scholar material after all. A few of us were convinced that certain professors had overlooked our obvious intellectual shortcomings simply because they liked us. We all agreed that these feelings of fraudulence were keeping us from finishing our dissertations in a timely fashion, or, in my case, from even starting. The 19th century English literary critic John Churton Collins was right when he said, "If we knew each other's secrets, what comforts we should find." Just being in the company of like-minded women was tremendously reassuring. Everything was going pretty well until about the third meeting. That's when I began to have this nagging sense that even though they were saying they felt like imposters, I knew I was the only real imposter. I realized then I had a choice. I could let my own secret fears continue to stand between me and my goals, or I could channel my energy into trying to understand them. I chose the latter. The imposter phenomenon, or imposter syndrome, as it is more commonly referred to outside of academia, became the impetus for my doctoral research, in which I explored the broader question of why so many clearly intelligent, capable women feel anything but. My search for answers entailed in-depth interviews with 15 women, slightly over half of whom were women of color. I spoke with executives, clinicians, social service providers, and academic advisors. I wanted to hear from them about the kinds of internal barriers to success they'd observed in the women they managed, counseled, or advised. What I learned became the basis for a day-long workshop called Overcoming the Imposter Syndrome: Issues of Competence and Confidence for Women, which I co-led with fellow grad student Lee Ann Bell. Lee and I booked a small meeting room at a local hotel, put up some flyers, and hoped that at least a few people would come. When 40 women showed up, we knew we'd hit a nerve. We facilitated several more packed workshops before Lee relocated to pursue a career in higher education. I continued to speak on imposter syndrome, and in 2019, I renamed the program Rethinking Imposter Syndrome. Taking imposter feelings out of the realm of therapy and into an educational arena has proved tremendously successful. To date, more than 500,000 people have attended this workshop. Simply giving people an alternative way of thinking about themselves and their competence has yielded some amazing results. Women reported asking for and getting raises. Corporate execs who had participated in a workshop as students told of being so transformed that years later they asked me to address their employees. Writers who had played small for years became
Sample complete. Ready to continue?